Okay, good morning, folks. Right on time today. We've been up for a little while now. And let's see, maybe here in the background you can see what I've been working on. Nope. But over here, behind me, made a new piece. At least something I'm thinking about. But you can't see it, so we're not going to talk about it anyways. We have drawn out lines ahead of time today so that you don't have to watch me do that. Hello, Amit Kenny. Hope I pronounced your name correctly. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to be working on some penmanship, so I got as many lines as I could get in like the 20 minutes I had to do them. And then one side of the paper is blank so that I can work with the blank side of the paper as well. And we're going to be working just on our right-handed penmanship today. I'm not sure what I'll write, but I still haven't made the video for the word vulnerable. Might continue working on V's today. But let's just get warmed up a little bit and then we'll see where this goes. We're going to need some ink. How was everyone's Monday? Everyone have a good Monday? We're using Rhodia paper today and some dieyen marine blue ink. One thing that I have been doing is counting more often during my drills. I find in other exercises that involve rhythm, counting really helps me a lot. So I've been trying to count while I do this. And I've found that I have a little bit more control when I count. So what I'll do is I'll count beforehand, go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 21, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 31, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 41, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 50. So that was 50 rotations. And if you'll notice, the one thing that I'm trying to avoid is that when I start my penmanship, I tend to have this, it's hard to describe what it is, but it's as if the impulse to go quickly is hard to control. And so you can see it here in this line. This is the line that indicates the lack of impulse control. And I splayed out a little further than I should have in the rotation. So with the counting, I'm trying to keep it sustained, keep it controlled. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 50. So that's another 50 rotations. Again, you can kind of see how in the beginning, when you first put the pen down, I come into it with a lot of momentum, and so we have these parts where the oval tends to be a little larger, the form isn't as precise. So it's really an interesting thing. Once you kind of get into the groove of it, you can find the control. It's just that initial step into the motion that seems to instigate a little bit of a lack of control. And I think too, a lot of people probably experience this in their penmanship, especially if they're working on whole arm movement. But it's this, it's a little bit of sporadic movement that comes with using these larger muscles in such a fine space. There's another 50 there. So you can see we can get in a little bit better, a little less on that that jitter or jolt or whatever you describe it as, but there's a little. So we're getting tighter though. You can see we're staying closer to being within these lines. I ran out of ink on 30. There's something in the Palmer book that says that his most proficient students are doing 2,000 compact ovals in a matter of 1 ink dipping. Yeah, I don't know about that, but that's pretty intense. What kind of nib are they using? So curious. All right, let's do some push-pull drills here. And we were talking a little bit about this in the Discord. If you're into American penmanship and you like business handwriting, we have a Discord that is currently being developed. Community so far is really great, really nice. And we're in that community sharing resources, sharing thoughts and ideas, trying to understand how some of the old masters are able to produce such beautiful penmanship in a collective format. So if you're interested in that, make sure you check out the Discord. But something we were talking about the last couple of days is the slant that we should be working on, or the slant that we should be doing our exercises at, or our writing should be at, etc. And a lot of books and a lot of literature that I've seen recommends the slant of about 52 to 55 degrees. That seems to be the standard recommendation for slants. However, if you look at the Palmer Method book, in that book he has a demonstration in the very first pages of the compact ovals, and he's executing these drills at a slant of 70 degrees. And he even has a dotted line running down the center of his oval. It doesn't have the measurement written there on the book, but when you measure it out, it's a 70-degree slant. So a friend of mine, David DiGiovanni, Perfect Biscuits, here on YouTube, another very impressive business penman, was saying that in other books as well, they recommend that you practice drills at a higher slant degree of 60, or I may be misquoting him, so don't take my word for it. But you can go into the Discord. There's an invite in the description and read up on what resources we have available and discussions that have taken place if you're interested in that kind of thing. But I do think it's interesting that the drills would be done at a higher degree than your actual writing. I have found in my own experience that writing at a higher degree allows for that push-pull movement to feel a little bit more natural, and it allows for it to be more of an independent movement, where if you start writing at a higher or a lower degree, you introduce the elbow hinge. So the bending at the elbow is another component to this whole thing that is very that can be very challenging to control. So just an interesting thing that we were discussing in there. Let's do some indirect ovals. I know I've had a lapse in concentration when I realized that I was never counting. I started off counting, and then somewhere along the way I just stopped counting. Our attention span is such an interesting thing. Handwriting has really helped me over the years develop a strong attention span, but it's something that you do need to be aware of and consciously working on. So that was 50 there. And you can really tell the difference here between where I wasn't counting and where I am counting. Just so much more control, much more equal spacing within the ovals. Here we have kind of like this sporadic move, and then here we can see that there's just much more order in the whole drill. Again, another 50 rotations on that one. Yeah, I'm just doing this to warm up the muscles. But once you've got these drills down, if you're really interested in a practical application of this handwriting, they're not that necessary. But I enjoy the drills so much. There's such a meditation, especially first thing in the morning. Well, it's not first thing now, but it's still early in the morning, and it helps zone me in for what I want to do. So here towards the end, we were having a little bit of a challenge. My pinky and ring finger here glide along the paper as I do these exercises. And as I was going towards the end, I was finding myself sliding off the paper and onto the leather underneath. And that change in friction was creating a little bit of a challenge. So that's one thing. I've been creating some guidelines, and I do have about a 1/2 inch border on each side of my guidelines, so I don't think I would run into that issue with the printed version of these lines. But just something that I'm making a mental note of out loud for all of you watching. Some coffee. Okay. Sometimes I feel like I could honestly just do drills the whole day. They're so much fun. I find that lowercase c is not the hardest letter in the world, but there are little things about it that are challenging, and because I don't consider it a very hard letter, I tend to ignore it. I don't work on it often. partial towards this Palmer F. Let's try that again. A little better. A little better. The G is a very strange letter to me as well. It's one of those letters that the proportions are so tricky. Thinking that, well, something I've noticed recently is that this section can be very low. So I really like the way it looks when you have the low point. Let's do it with some speed now. I think that looks quite nice. And the proportions look correct-ish. Correct enough. There we go. That descender is challenging. Let's hit it here. A little better. And H. I is a letter that, I feel somewhat confident about, but at the same time I feel like there are little things about it that I don't understand entirely. You can do a loop on that. Let's see if we get that loop to touch. Capital K. I think the K is my favorite letter, capital K. And I haven't really worked on the lowercase k. I know that my instinctual or intuitive movement through the K is one that stems back to how I understand the letter from kindergarten, which is where it closes all the way back here. But I know that in the handbooks of business handwriting, it's further out, and it closes closer to that point around there. JK. And then this is one of the most challenging letters, I think. This is letter O. When I first started doing some of the cursive styles and studying some of the letters, I thought the simple P like this was kind of boring. But now I think it's quite attractive, very nice, very elegant. Get a little bit more ink. Alright, we're out of lines in this sheet of paper, so we're going without them. Now these next letters I have not at all spent any time studying, so don't judge me. It's not a bad Z. I'm not too sure on all of the details of the Z, but I always try to get that loop in, and I don't always succeed, and this time I did. It's a very fine loop, and something interesting I noticed about the speed too, how much I slowed down there. Today is February 12th. Two 2019. Now, something I always run into trouble with is here at the very end of my paper. I don't have any more room for my fingers to rest, so sliding on the leather, it makes it more challenging. There's more friction and it's not as smooth as a movement. It's not bad without lines. I think I kept it pretty straight. Let's go ahead and move on to the back side of this paper. And who is bothering me? Got it. Okay. A little bit more ink. was fun. Let's go back to another lined sheet of paper. Sorry, I'm gonna have to finish my coffee now because it's getting cold. Nothing's worse than cold coffee. Unless it was brewed cold, then it's okay. But if it was hot, you gotta drink it hot. Another thing that I've really enjoyed doing in the mornings is before the streams, I'll have a cup of warm water with a little bit of apple cider vinegar in it. Been making me feel really good in the mornings. And then right after that, I just drink a coffee cup of hot water. And yeah, I've been feeling pretty good. So I don't know, you might want to try it. I've heard good things about drinking warm water in the mornings. Something about your system and, I don't know, lubricating your digestional tract or something. So now with lines, we can have a little bit more precision when we write. At least we can try to have a little bit more precision. Try that word again. That is a tough word. there's so much pressure when you get a letter well to do the second one just as well. That's life though. I've been trying to get this phrase going. It's c'est la vie, stay groovy. I'll write it out for you. It's French and English, so don't get confused. It goes like this. C'est la vie. C'est la vie means that's life in French. That's life. And then the second part of the phrase, c'est la vie, stay groovy. I'm hitting the edge of my other table here. Stay groovy. So c'est la vie, stay groovy, which means stay groovy. And the phrase goes well together because it's c'est la vie, stay groovy. They rhyme. This is what they call a rhyming couplet. And Shakespearean ballads typically ended with rhyming couplets, in case you were curious. So, c'est la vie, stay groovy. Tell all your friends what it means. Tell them to say it. I'm trying to get that phrase going. Tell all your friends. And you can send them to this channel. You see here on this L, the slant is like way off compared to the rest of the letters. Well, maybe it's not way off, but it's off enough for you to tell. And that was the other thing that we were learning in the manuals. It seems as if there's no real standard definitive slant. It ranges between 52 to 55 degrees, and it is more important that you're consistent in your slant than it is that you nail a specific degree. So that example, Akbar Key Writing. Hello, I hope I said your name correctly. Thank you for joining us. So I hope in the booklet, the Palmer method, where he talks about slant, he says that it is more important to be consistent in your slant than it is, well, he doesn't compare it to anything else, but he also says that the slant will take care of itself. And so if you train your muscles correctly, your slant will take care of itself. Hello, Akbar Key Writing. I am not a calligrapher. Train You see, oh there, you see it? You see how the slant here is off compared to the slant here. So this means that my muscles are not trained correctly. Train your muscles so you can see here, minimal effort, slant is pretty uniform. And things like this happen because of the same reason on the other sheet. Remember when we were doing the drills in the beginning? See, this is impulse here. This is the areas where the synapses were not connected well. And the myelin sheath, its thickness did not contain the current. And then next thing you know, we have this sporadic movement that is off slant. So it's been interesting kind of diagnosing my own imperfections in movement. And then also the elbow hinge versus the pull down with the shoulder and the back muscle. It has been interesting noticing where I allow for the elbow to hinge, although it's not supposed to. And I was looking at that diagram that David posted in the Discord. If you're interested in American penmanship and penmanship in general and the business penmanship style and muscular movement, highly recommend you join our Discord. Links are in the description. We have a lot of great resources. We have several very good penmen in there who are sharing their insights. But the hand positioning in that, you kind of looks cocked. The wrist looks a little bit cocked back, especially with the left hand. And I don't know if that is something that keeps you from using your elbow. And it just forces you to use the larger muscles. I'm trying to understand which muscles. I feel it here a little bit in my chest, like it's an upper chest muscle that might be working. Here, we're going towards the flat side. It's really cool to see that there are other parts of the world that are interested in this American style of penmanship. I have this guy who I've been communicating with occasionally on Instagram, and he tells me he's learning, he's an Arabic calligrapher, and I took Arabic in college, so I learned how to say a few things. The only thing I really remember though is salata, which means salad. Really important word to know if I ever go to an Arabic speaking country. I know how to ask for salad. Alhamdulillah, I believe, is like kind of like a peaceful greeting. Peace be with you or something. And then, no, that's not correct. I can't seem to think of it now that I'm under pressure. Cursive handwriting is the best. Granted, I'm biased, so you may think another one's the best. Because one of the reasons I think it's the best is that it is... Now that I'm trying to do that cocked hand motion, I'm rotating my pen. Handwriting is the best, and it is also my favorite, which is why I think it's the best. What's your favorite style of writing? What's your favorite font? Or Akbar key writing, what style of calligraphy do you do? I was listening to a really good podcast yesterday. It was Calligraphy Master's first episode in a series of podcasts. And Milan had Paul Antonio. And I never took much interest in Paul Antonio. I've seen some of his videos, and I'm pretty sure I follow him on Instagram. And he's an interesting character in those videos, and in that superficial relationship that I had, or perception that I had of him through Instagram. But hearing his story, my goodness, this guy is really amazing. I'm so inspired by him now. Paul Antonio. I highly recommend anyone who is interested in penmanship look up this podcast because it is amazing. Paul Antonio, his story is so inspiring, and it makes me feel so blessed to have the resources that I have, and also just the time period and the area that I grew up in is so different than his experience. I feel very blessed. I am feeling very blessed. But it's an excellent podcast. I highly recommend you take a listen. I found it by just Googling Calligraphy Masters podcast Anchor. I had to put the Anchor in there because that's the website that they use for the podcast. But I don't have a link anywhere here in the description or anything. Highly recommend you check it out. It's a calligraphy podcast. Milan's going to come out with more episodes. I'm really excited to now see who else he's going to interview, because It was an excellent podcast. Alrighty. Okay, guys, thank you so much for tuning in, those of you who have tuned in. And if you are watching this on the playback and you made it to the end and you're hearing my voice right now, I just want to say thank you so much for watching this. I hope that you have found it helpful in one way or another. If you have any feedback for how these videos could be more helpful, I would really appreciate you guys letting me know. All of these videos are intended to archive and document my progress over the period of time that I practice. And I will do this for an indefinite future, so I'm hoping to collect a really large archive of my penmanship progress over a long period of time, and that's really exciting for me. So, and the other thing that these videos provide that I think is important is just the show of somebody's casual writing, and I know a lot of times we see only the perfect versions of things on the internet, and everyone thinks that that's how we are all the time. And I do it with my videos as well on Instagram. I only show you the best writing samples from that day or from that video. It's 20 minutes of writing, but you only get to see 30 seconds of it. So these videos show a more casual approach to the handwriting, and you guys get to see things real time as well. So if you have any questions, or if you want to participate in business penmanship as well, highly recommend you check out the Discord. You can make proposals there for live streams, and there are handwriting resources there as well, and you can share your writing samples, and there's a great community there building slowly. So thank you all for tuning in today. I will see you all tomorrow morning. And let me click this button and